Alex Weiss, also known as ayydubs on YouTube, has been worrying her fans for months, having them under the impression that she joined a cult. This all started with her last video on her YouTube channel before taking about 5 months off YouTube, which is where a lot of the worry came in. Alex had Aaron and Carly on the podcast that she used to do. It was the last episode of the podcast, and on this episode, she talks about how she escaped a cult and how she got an invite to kind of go back, and she was considering it.
A cult yesterday.
A cult?
A cult. I was
That
actually
sounds
thinking of going to the potluck.
No.
With that being the last one she posted before going radio silent on all social media, fans were worried that she had actually gone and joined this cult and were scared about what might have happened to her. Alex is an OG YouTuber for anybody that does not know her. She's been around for a long time. I used to watch her back in the day when she was making content with Gen X Pen and That's So Jack, and people have been watching her for years. And so this was something that they were like, what is going on? Super worried about her. So after about 5 months, she did end up posting a few weeks ago onto her YouTube channel. She returns back, and at first people were like, oh my god, thank god she's okay, she's all good. But as people actually watched her video, their worry was still kind of there, and they felt like she had indeed joined a cult. In the video, she addressed her last podcast episode that she had done with Aaron and Carly, and she said that she actually knew it was going to be the last video that she was going to be posting for a while, that her podcast was coming to an end, but she wasn't saying anything because the people that were even like helping her put on the podcast didn't even know that she knew it was going to be the last time. They were kind of ending the podcast and not making it very clear to her yet, but she had like a feeling that it was going to end. And so she shared the story that she was maybe going to join a cult and said that she kind of said it intentionally, but she didn't know it would be something that people would be so worried about her over. She was kind of just saying that just for a funny story on this podcast.
I also told it fully intentionally, knowing it would be my last episode and that I didn't know when I would post next. What I did not expect was that it would mean people were going to be worried about me.
She did want to clarify in the comments of this video saying, hi all, I didn't really clarify in this video, but I want to make it clear that I never intended for people to worry about me. By the time I started getting messages about it, I was not in a place to post anything online, and the longer I waited, the harder speaking up became. I'm really sorry that I caused people to worry, did in doing my best. But as she goes on to talk about this quote-unquote cult, she is joined in the video by a girl named Tessa, who is also in this said cult with her. And she said that she tried to film this video multiple times alone, but it just wasn't working for her, and she needed somebody else who had experienced the same things as her to be in the video with her. Now, as the two of them open up about the group that they were in, they're like kind of joking about it being a cult, and this is kind of why at first people were like, haha, like, okay, it's not actually a cult, she's good, because they were joking about it being a cult. But then people were like, no, it's a cult. Especially when they were talking about their experiences, people were just questioning the whole thing as they're detailing someone purging for them,
sucking out of the head and then throwing up for you.
It was my second ceremony. She just sucks, like puts her mouth here, sucks in here and here, and then immediately throws up. And then I get up and I feel different. Yeah. Like lighter than I've ever felt in my whole life. Like she took something out of me that I didn't even know was there. Yeah. She purged for us sometimes.
Yes.
That's like selfless work.
3 times a week, every week, for dozens of people.
They later even detailed things like their diets and what they were not allowed to eat at this place.
We were not consuming salt,
sugar,
dairy,
alcohol, drugs,
cold beverages,
chilies, spice,
fermented foods,
fats.
And it was like a holiday if they ever gave us chicken. And also most days we were only eating 2 meals a day. We were doing a lot of fasting.
And at one point, Alex talks about being in isolation, which worried people even more.
There were moments for me, like one of the most profound moments of my entire experience. I was sitting in bed having such a hard time because I was in isolation and I had met so many beautiful people that I wanted to connect with, yourself included.
The whole thing was super concerning because the two of them were sitting there advocating for this group and even joked about the video sounding like a recruitment video because of the way that they were kind of talking about it.
Talking about this experience is really challenging when it feels like I'm just talking at people, or like there's people in my life where there's a disconnect because there's no way to understand what went on there
Yeah.
and how it changed us. And this really does sound like a cult recruitment.
But at the same time, they were talking about how it's just a joke that it's a cult and that it's not actually a cult. Everything there was done with good in mind.
Lateral.
They heal through love. We joke about it being a cult for the gag, but there is no intention behind anything but healing for them. And I think that's what makes us even more passionate about how much it's done for us.
And I'm just gonna say the followers, when they saw this video, were not buying it. The comment section under that video was filled with tons of people saying things like, I've been so fascinated by cults and the effects they have on people, but having watched Alex for so long and see her so strangely devoted to something like this chills me to my core. Also saying she came back and felt disconnected from friends is a big red flag. One of the first things cults do is separate you from your friends and family. This is so incredibly heartbreaking. I so feel for you and hope you reach clarity, but your platform is huge and young. Spreading this around is dangerous. This has to go. You're 100% in a cult. I feel so strange about this. So many people were worried for months. This is very unsettling. I don't know what's worse, Alex purposely letting us worry for months on end about her possibly joining a cult, or the fact that she did join a cult and is gaslighting herself, others into thinking it's not one. I'm glad she seems okay and happy though. Cults love people like Alex, pure heart, open mind, and the trait of wanting to belong. Another element is a person who is seeking spirituality. At first I was watching this thinking, yay, she's okay, but the further I watched, the more concerned I became. It definitely sounds like a cult in many ways, and explaining it in such detail in hopes of possibly enlisting more people is very strange. Like, this entire video has left me feeling very yuck, and it seems as though I'm not the only one. Now, almost 3 weeks after this video of her explaining where she's been and all that, she ended up going on H3, and Ethan interviewed her about everything that's happened. She explained that the cult that she joked about escaping during the podcast with Aaron and Carly had nothing to do with the group that she was talking about in her recent YouTube video. She further explained that she had basically just gone to Peru to do an ayahuasca retreat.
I want to clarify, me having that run-in with a cult in Los Angeles, I never went to the potluck. I joked about it and I talked to a friend about going, and we were like, this is a bad idea. We're not doing this. The ayahuasca retreat, so unrelated.
So the cult you mentioned, totally unrelated.
So unrelated. I have made this huge mistake, and like, it's crazy to find myself in this situation, but I realized that like I basically planted 2 seeds next to each other in the same video.
Ethan tries to then bring up some of the things that people have commented about on that video, like her being in isolation, and people even noticed that in footage that she shared from her experience there, that there was like a lock outside of the door of the room that she was staying in, and so Ethan wanted to bring that up.
It was never locked. I don't think that lock was actually on the outside. I mean,
No, it is. Watch.
I remember
watch.
it.
Here, let's watch slowly. So you walk.
Yeah.
Not
So
talking.
here's the door, front of the door. You go in. You shut. There's the lock. You can see the lock. You push it.
I don't. It's
and then
funny.
you go into the room right here. See, there's the lock.
12 days.
And then you're in the room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see it, but I don't like. I was never locked in that room. I don't even remember like using that lock specifically.
Was there a lock on the inside?
I thought that's what that lock was. I just never used it, so
Okay.
I don't know.
She also apologized to her fans who were worried, thinking that she was in a cult, and she never wanted to actually worry people, and she didn't mean for her last video to come off like she was in one. And she says that she was kind of just saying it was a cult because people were also saying it was a cult, and she was calling it that for the bit, but thought people were kind of in on the bit and that she wasn't actually in a cult and people were gonna get that, but admits people do confuse spirituality with cult-like groups sometimes.
I should have made it clearer.
Okay.
My intention was not for people to then think that I really was in a cult. Like the bit was supposed to be over.
She later does say that she thinks waiting to speak out about whether or not she was in a cult and where she was kind of proof of some sort of healing, because the reason why she sought this out in the first place was because she had been online making content for 14 years, never stepping away, and it had consumed her life. And this was the first time she was really able to step away.
Being centered was a lot about addressing my workaholism, which I talked about in my video. And so for me, actually, like not feeling pressure to speak up too soon when I felt sort of like debilitated, was, I think for me personally, even though maybe it wasn't good for my career or for other people, was the best choice.
All in all, it's kind of up to interpretation if people think Alex joined a cult, because she is saying no, she did not, but many people have different thoughts on this now, especially after the H3 interview. She even admits that some people will still call it as such because she knows that talking about spirituality and the environment that she was in will probably bring that into the conversation. But this whole story has just been crazy to see unfold. I know a lot of you guys have messaged me about this situation for a while now and have been shocked by all that has come out. If you guys haven't heard of Alex, or maybe you used to watch her and haven't heard her name in a while, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I love you guys so much, and I will talk to you in the next video. Bye guys.